Alright, so here we are today to discuss the X-Files revival. Season 10, as they're actually officially calling it now. So this is an official season. It's not like a reunion season. It is season 10 of the X-Files. It's just a lot shorter than the rest of them. But the premiere was 2 days in a row, 2 episodes in a row. Now, I was going to break down each episode individually on the 2-episode premiere. Let me give you a little insider as to why I'm combining them, because it's actually an X-File that I have uncovered myself. The first episode? Nothing happened. Now, before I start getting flamed in the comments section for saying that, I just want to say, I still loved the first episode. There's a lot of enjoyment to be had with the first episode. But not much happened in terms of the narrative and X-Files-y stuff to make it feel like a full episode. It felt like the first part, which, oh my god, then in the middle of it when I was like, it's really slow, they were like, oh, well, this is the 2-part, stay tuned tomorrow for episode 2 of the X-Files. And I was like, okay, here we go. So, basically, it is many years later, and Scully and Mulder are back doing their own individual things with their individual lives because X-Files, I want to believe, bombed. They did a really nice recap with these photos that were being burned, and I really liked that. I thought it was really cool because it was a good way to sum it up, because my girlfriend, for example, didn't have the X-Files around when she grew up, which I was one of those people who had the X-Files in their house when they grew up. So it was really cool having the summing up of everything, so then my girlfriend was like, oh, okay, now we're on the same page. Resume. Then we get a crash, and I was like, oh man, we're starting with aliens right away. Yes. My big issue with episode 1 is it got really politically preachy. I mean, Chris Carter, he does his best to be politically preachy when he can, but oh my god, this episode did not stop with it. I mean, it was remark and remark and remark after, like, one after the other, and I was like, dude, cool your writing team. They just kept laying it on thick that they had their own political agenda in mind. But the reason why Fox Mulder and Dana Scully get called in, now mind you, my TV show breakdowns, if you're new to this, have some spoilers. They believe that it is possible that maybe everything that they have done, seasons 1 through 9, are a lie in terms of aliens. That what if it was all people? And that was like, I was sitting there, I was like, no, they technically, that could actually be people. Oh my god. My mind exploded. Could this possibly all be the biggest conspiracy? Which is why Mulder was always like, you said you had answers, and they're like, you're close, Mulder. You're really close. What if he was close? Because he was right there with the people staring him down saying, no, this is wrong. We need to know what's going on out there. And so I was like, that is awesome. And then they're like, oh, well, we have to work with this, like, conservative conspiracy person. And I was like, here we go. And Joel McHale did a great job. He fit perfectly into the X-Files. I was really happy with his character. He wasn't in it very much. I mean, the trailers have him as like a prevalent character, but he wasn't in it too much. So they meet up with an old character they interviewed as a kid. Her name is Svedka, I believe. American, sorry. But Svedka is this young girl that they interviewed on their cases with the X-Files about being abducted by aliens. And she says they kept abducting me, impregnating me, and removing the child. And then Fox Mulder came in and started explaining and like, what's going on? She's like, well, I don't even necessarily know if it's aliens, but what I remember were people. And Fox was like, oh my god. And so he starts going on. And I like that they were really focusing heavy on the tension of what the story arc is going to be. You gotta lay on this plot real thick and say, this is where we're gonna get to by episode 6. And so I understand why not much happened in the first episode. So I enjoyed the first episode in terms of laying down the narrative, but I do wish they did a little more with it, because it turned into Mulder walking into a room going, man, I haven't done this in a while. And then they're like, well, yeah, we know, but X-Files and stuff. went over and over, and they'd all do that dramatic turn where it's like, Scully, or we need to figure this out. And I was like, okay, so this is the nostalgia we're coming back episode. All right, cool. As they're going through there, my favorite part of the episode actually did not deal with Mulder and Scully. It was that there was a crash, and it was the Roswell incident, and it happened, and the government goes out there, and they're flashing back. And that's where Mulder gets the idea that we've just been using alien technology this whole time, experimenting on our own people, preparing for a global takedown. And I was like, that's a giant espionage, and if you can pull it off, it's gonna be so cool. Personally, I still want it to be aliens, because I've always liked the idea in this show that we are not alone. The truth is out there. We are not alone. We are being visited every day, and we don't even realize it. It was almost like a more realistic Men in Black. And I really liked that that aliens were here all the time, and I thought that was really cool. The filming style, it was straight, like, old school X-Files. I absolutely loved that. Everything felt like it was just another season. They are back again. Our favorite team, Mulder and Scully, are back, and that was cool to me. One of my favorite segments in terms of filming, in terms of plot and tone, that was one of my favorite things, was honestly like 2/3 of the trailer for the X-Files reopened, or whatever you want to call it, was the Roswell incident. So they're driving him out there, all that secretive stuff, like a cooler version of Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, and you see the crash, and he's looking around, and you see all the spectacle, because at first you can't really tell if it's in modern day or if it's in the past. Like, you couldn't tell, and they're slowly revealing it to you. And I was just glued to my seat anytime they would flash back. And then they showed the Roswell incident where they're looking out and they hear something in the grass, and they look and you see one of the aliens, and the alien is crawling through the grass and like looks almost like afraid, and then they just start shooting it. And he's like, "What are you doing?" and stuff, and he's trying to help it. And I love that scene where then he's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "You brought me here to be a doctor. If you didn't want this, why else would you have me here? If you didn't want me to help take care of this thing." So I was sitting there and I was like, oh my god, that scene was perfect. Like, that could have... Someone make a Roswell movie already, because that was awesome. On the end of episode 1, we got to see the smoking man, and he's sitting there and they're like, well, you know what? They've reopened the X-Files and they've revealed him and he's got a breathing thing. And I was like, the smoking man! I love the smoking man because he was essentially the manifestation of the devil. So all of a sudden, the big evil guy. Is this season gonna be about taking down the smoking man? I sure hope so, because it's gonna be awesome. On to episode 2, which if you ask me is 100 times better than episode 1, so I'm getting excited for this going and going and going thing, is this one was more like a traditional X-Files episode. An unspecified amount of time later, I'm guessing like a day later or something, there you see like the typical X-Files opening where a character's walking around and something's not all right. He's got his eyes all wigging out and he's got a migraine. He looks like he's just a wreck. And he's going through the building, and you start to hear that he's got something in his head, and he's going, ah, and he's like, can you hear them? And there was that guy from The Strain, and you're getting into his head, and the sound effect volume was astronomical. My ears were ringing, and I was like, dude, turn it down. And so he runs out to this computer room, locks himself in there, and he's trying to upload something to a hard drive. And no one knows what or why, and then out of nowhere he just takes a letter opener and stabs it through his head, and I was like, oh. This is brutal. Like, the X-Files was brutal for its time, but if you watch it now, which I have been, because they digitally remastered the X-Files for Blu-ray, and I got those because I'm an X-Files fan. Oh my god. Like, this is nothing compared to, like, blood is coming out, and he's like... Oh my god, I was so happy with the brutality of it. And then it's just kind of like he's dead there, and they're like, what happened? And so then they stop the computer upload, and we get our traditional title openings. I love that they kept the traditional titles. I was wondering, because they had for the X-Files on the ads when it came back, it had that new logo with like the red circle, which I thought looked cool, but I was like, I kind of want the old school opening titles. That's what we get. And it was awesome. So Mulder and Scully are back and investigating it, and it's the Department of Defense, you find out, in one of their most top secret server rooms. And I thought that was an interesting choice of the first one because the X-Files are reopened. So of course they're going to be reopened to investigate something with the DoD. And Mulder is using his skills, but you see him using modern technology more. I feel like they know that people laugh at some of the dated technology they used in the originals with like the giant phones and all of that. So now they're like, we're in modern day, dang it. You guys are gonna stop making fun of us. And they threw all the political jargon out the window. They made an Obamacare joke, which I still thought was funny. But they threw most of the politics out of the window in episode 2, and they keep going through. Almost all of it takes place in this one hospital, where there's human experimentation going on. And I really liked the idea that we're getting back to the monster of the week theme of the X-Files. We're going to look at this unrelated case, but it might be connected because Mulder has a strange fascination with this hard drive at the Department of Defense. So he's trying to contact people he previously knew, and he's trying to get clues towards it, and it turns out that this guy who killed himself in the beginning was a repressed homosexual, and he had a secret life, which is how it kept leading them astray. So they found the real guy, and that's when all of a sudden Mulder gets it. He gets the pounding headache, and they close the case. DoD's like, no, we're done. X-File, you're off the case. Just deal with it. And of course, does that stop our heroes? No. Because even Mulder, when she's like, you know, this will put you in mortal danger, and Mulder's like, has that stopped us before? And I was like, no, it hasn't. And once again, adhering to the X-Files filming style, where it just felt like an episode. It didn't feel like a movie. It didn't feel like someone else was taking the reins of the X-Files. It was straight up X-Files. The colors are crisp and bright, and we get a look at everything really well. The camera keeps steady on our heroes, and it feels like they never left. And that's the nostalgia bomb I wanted for the X-Files. So as they're still investigating this case, they go back and they realize this doctor's been experimenting on children, potentially leading back to what we were looking at before. And they're trying to figure it out, but he's not quite clear, and so they're looking into his life. Once again, guys, I am majorly paraphrasing, because X-Files stories get so complex and detailed that if I were to go into it all, it'd be an hour-long video, because some of it I'm sitting here going, what? I'm just trying to keep track of it all. So, it turns out his wife was actually being experimented on by him because they were hired by the government, and her fetuses were being taken, and she knew this, so she was running away, and they accused her of killing her baby, which she didn't, because you get this brutal scene where she gives herself a Prometheus section. That's what I call it, because if you've seen Prometheus, you know. And it's from all this car accident, and they knew something was wrong, and she gets a ringing in her ears back then. And you're like, wait a minute. Could it be that the experiments caused maybe some kind of mutant genome? And of course, Mulder lays it on. What happens? Because we were trying to make alien hybrids back in the 70s. And she's like, well, that could, in theory, be the next step of human evolution. Boom! That's what he's trying to do by experimenting with these diseases. Next step of human evolution. Marfan. I actually have Ehlers-Danlos, and kind of, like, I might have Marfan, so I was sitting there and I was like, I better not be that kid. I am that kid. Guys, that actually isn't what happens to you, of course, but, you know, in that extreme X-Files case, it is. It was more brutal than the original show, which again is what I loved. And so when we get to look into this further, they realize that this kid was adopted because they never found the baby, which could lead back to our footage of where the guy killed himself. A psychic link. That these twins, basically, are a psychic link, but he's looking for his twin sister. So they go out, track him through a Criminal Minds way, where they're like, wait a minute, if we look at this, we can do this, we can do this, oh my god, let's find him. They find the kid at his mom's house, and Mulder gets hit with it again, so Scully goes looking for him because the birds are there, and the birds come when he's getting mad. And which I think is interesting. I'm guessing it has to do with, I think he said electromagnetic fields. Science jargon. But Scully's running around and she's doing her gun searching, which I always liked that they made Scully such a strong character, because it would be so easy to just make her like the one who's along for the ride. And she's not. As she saves Mulder, they take her back and he's like, I'm looking for my sister, as they're driving down the road. And he's like, well, you tried to attack me, but I think I know where your sister is. So now this creates an alliance. We don't know that at the time, but he shows up at the doctor's office and he's like, I need to take some of your blood. Draws some blood from him, and then all of a sudden he's like, I'll show you your sister. And he's like, it's you. Wait a minute. That's not my sister. The doctor has lied and made enemies with this kid. So the kid runs down the hallway and he sees this girl like as if she's looking for him. They're linked. And then they run up to each other with the glass. He's like, are you ready? And she's like, yeah, let's do this. They break the glass. He has like that mind gonna fry your brain powers, and she has sort of like a gravity altering powers, which is why she was kept separate. And so them together is just like the most unstoppable thing you've faced. So as Mulder and Scully and the doctor run around the corner, the doctor gets pushed, Mulder and Scully get flung against the wall, and it looked really, really cool because they have modern technology now to do this stuff. So then all of a sudden, flung against the wall, the doctor is on the ground, and guys, gals, and everything in between. Oh my god, the brutality is the kid just turns around and he starts the high-pitched squeak, but it's not affecting Mulder. And I love that the camera tilts down from Mulder and it's not affecting him. And you look down at the doctor and he's like, oh, and he's just like crunching up. And then all of a sudden you just see his eyes bleeding and his nose and his mouth are all bleeding and his ears are bleeding and he's like screaming and he's coughing up blood and his eyes are just like self-gouged out, and then just he's dead. His head didn't explode, but it might as well. Internally, it just went poof. And that was cool. And in traditional X-Files fashion, somehow they got away, and I feel like they cut it for time, because I don't know about you guys, but all of a sudden it's just kind of like, head explode, done. And they're just outside, and it's like, well, they got away. Really? How'd they get away? But either way, I think Mulder and Scully just didn't want to mess with them, but it still would have been nice to have a scene where they're like, you know what, we'll turn the other way. I don't want to get my brain exploded. Just go. Either way, I still love this episode. I think it was the stronger of the two episodes for the premiere, because then it's like, you know, this case is closed, but they got the blood, so now they can continue their investigation for the larger story arc, which means I'm kind of seeing where their original idea for another X-Files movie was, but now they're getting to add the actual X-Files to it, and I like that. So now the kids are away, Mulder's got the blood, Scully and him are ready to experiment, and that case is closed. What did you guys think of the episode? Did you feel like maybe it was missing a scene or two? I personally think it was, but I still loved the episode. What did you guys think? Don't forget to like and subscribe. Got plenty more videos coming to you. The truth is still out there.